right, so in part one, we talked about how to calculate a z-score. Take the score of your interest, subtract the mean, divide it by the standard deviation. And what that gives you is a number that represents how many standard deviations away from the mean is the score that we're considering. So before I go in and fill in more of this, let's pause and talk about why is this important? Why do we need to know this? And that actually is going to lead to why I have this up here. So the way that the numbers work out when you calculate a mean, what you see, the way that the standard deviations come together is within one standard deviation on either side, okay, so 0 is the mean. If I'm looking at the scores from the mean to one standard deviation away on the positive side, we know mathematically the way that this works out, that this chunk right here is going to be 34% of our scores, okay? Likewise, from the mean to one standard deviation away on the other side is going to represent another 34% of our scores. So in total, we will end up having 68% of our scores with a z-score between -1 and 1. 34% between -1 and 0, an additional 34% between 0 and 1. As we go down, see our tail's getting smaller here. As we go down, we see fewer scores happening between -2 and 1 and 1 and 2. So getting more than one step away from the mean, getting more than one standard deviation away from the mean. This number is 14% on each side. So 14% are going to fall between -2 and -1, and an additional 14% are going to fall between 1 and 2 standard deviations away, meaning a z-score of 1 and 2. And so what that leaves us for our leftovers is that in these tails here that are between 2 and 3 standard deviations away, we have 2% on each side. Now, back to why this matters. I want to return to an example that I've given before about when I was working with an organization that specialized in child abuse within the community, and I was running some of their statistics in the background for them. One of the things that they would often try to think about is which communities should we pay attention to, right? We serve 17 counties, I believe it was at the time that I worked there. Which ones should we prioritize our resources? And one of the things that I would look at in the statistics is look at the numbers last year and see, okay, which ones are falling over here? Which ones are in this small percentage of elevated scores that maybe need extra attention right now, that are farther away from the average? Or let's look at communities that have really, really low numbers, that are unusually low in the bottom 2% of cases, and see, is there anything that community is doing exceptionally well? Do they have extra prevention efforts, or are they maybe just not reporting it very good? So in terms of practicality, being able to calculate your z-scores allows you to see which of your participants are tending to be kind of in the main group versus which are over here more on the fringes, which ones are unusual, which ones are very far away from the mean in considering the scores that we tend to see. Let me pause that thought right there and we'll pick up with part 3 on this one.